Welcome to the Two Chumps Football Podcast. You know who it is. It's Emil Calomino. It's Chad Wilson. And I can't believe it. We are here already. It is the College Bowl Bonanza, annual College Bowl Bonanza podcast show. All right, where Emil and I go through. He has a 10-pack of bowl game winners. I've got a 10-pack of bowl game winners. Plus, the NFL season continues to rage on. So we've got those picks for you, plus a couple of other things that we want to touch on. So we are just so happy and glad to have you in here. And we are pleased to have the newcomers that are coming in each and every week. Emil, apparently we're making an impact here.
We are, because if they're not coming for the sports talk, they're coming for the picks.
One way or another, they're coming.
One way or another, they're coming.
Yeah, who thought you'd have some popularity if it wasn't two guys yelling and screaming at each other about various topics? We may disagree, and well, who knows? A voice might get raised here or there, but that's not the crux of what we're doing here on the show today. So I've already laid it out for you. We got bowl picks. We've got NFL picks. Let's jump into this right away, though, because it's kind of what is the topic today, and that is one Cam Newton. Cam Newton, like RG3. And I can't think of any other right now, but these are guys that are no longer playing in the league that do offer up their commentary on the current state of quarterbacks or little individual quarterback situations that might be taking place here and there. This outside of the guys that are actually in the studios, like David Carr, who said Marcus Mariota should be in place for Jalen Hurts. Okay, Carr. And then, guys like, what's the guy on ESPN? Don't make me say his name. The one that ran out of the back of the end zone. What's
Dan? Is it Dan? Whatever. The tall guy.
Orlovsky. Yes.
Orlovsky. Yeah.
Outside of those guys that are in studio and being paid by the big company, big wigs, Cam Newton and RG3 have their podcast and they offer some strong opinions. And Cam Newton was up this week, called the following quarterbacks, and I think I'm missing one, but Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, and Dak Prescott, game managers. And that got some panties in a bunch, got some people upset. And I'm here to tell you guys, Cam Newton is not wrong. Cam Newton did also say, and I don't have the whole podcast here, but he did also say that these guys are not game changers. And Emil, I would agree with that. And I would also say this. I think, in my opinion, what makes a quarterback a game changer is an elite talented arm or elite talent with the legs. So a game changer, John Elway, Dan Marino, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen. Game changer, Michael Vick, Randall Cunningham, Cam Newton. Game changers. These guys are game changers. They can do something with either their arm or their legs that no one else really can.
The Newton taking out his college career because he was a game changer there. He didn't change many games in the NFL.
I would disagree with you. And I would also point out that Cam Newton, for much of his career, did not have a wealth of talent to distribute the ball to.
So we're going to blame it on that. Cam Newton, 75 and 68. 59.9% completion percentage, career quarterback rating of 85.2, and he played from 2011 through 2021, so liberal passing rules. 194 touchdowns, 123 picks. The picks, you could have a low completion percentage because your receivers can't separate, I guess, but the picks, he threw it to the wrong team. Dak Prescott, 71 and 39. 67 for 66.9. Let's be accurate. Completion percentage. 194 touchdowns, same as Cam. He did that in 8 seasons so far. And 71 picks and a 99 career quarterback rating. I don't know.
Now do Joe Namath.
Joe Namath he had more picks than he had touchdowns.
Right. So the stats don't mean anything in this particular discussion. He said they're game managers, not game changers. You're mentioning Dak Prescott, who played for America's team and has had one of the best offensive lines, and for a couple of years, one of the best running backs in the league, and has had guys to throw the football to, and all those great things. Name me a wide receiver, not name Steve Smith, that played for Cam Newton. And this is...
I can't, but I'll do one better for you. Let's take the year Cam's team went 15-1.
Yes.
So he obviously had a good team. Really good team.
Okay.
How did he do in the Super Bowl? It was in Miami that year. I happened to be down there.
Okay.
Scored 10 points, Mr. Game Changer.
Scored 10 points in the game?
What'd they lose? 20-10, something like that to Denver?
Oh, I mean, I, as a kid, grew up and watched John Elway get his head smashed in.
But my point is, John Elway didn't go there with us. John Elway didn't go to Super Bowls with 17-1 teams. John Elway went to the Super Bowl with teams that didn't even belong in the Super Bowl the first 3 times, save but John Elway. Cam Newton went to the Super Bowl with a 17-1 team that was favored to win the Super Bowl. That was the year where Peyton Manning might as well have been me playing quarterback, only he knows a lot more about football than me. We could both throw the ball about the same distance at that point.
Right. I got you.
So
I got you. What you're saying is he was not a game changer because he lost the Super Bowl.
I'm saying we started the conversation. I said he wasn't a game changer. You said he doesn't have great talent. I said, fine, let's take it in a vacuum. The year that he did have great talent when he had a 17-1 team.
Did he have great talent? Did he have great talent? Or was Cam really at his peak?
His peak was a very short peak then.
That's okay. The discussion is a game changer. So I'm going to go back to my original point. Game changer meaning that if the other team's talent is better than ours, me as that quarterback can flip things into our favor because I have a dynamic arm, or I have dynamic legs, or I have a good combination of both, like a Patrick Mahomes. Whether we like it or not, Tom Brady is a game manager, not a superior talented arm, not superior.
Oh, I would argue on the arm. I would argue the arm talent after his first 4 or 5 years. His arm got incredibly stronger and accurate as his career. Matter of fact, Tom Brady had a better arm when he was 40 than when he was 25.
We can give him credit for being a good 40-year-old.
Well, let me just clarify my point. Let me clarify my point. I don't disagree.
Do you or do you not? Because it sure
do not disagree that Dak and Purdy and them, because there's very few game changers.
They're game managers.
What I do disagree with is Cam Newton's assessment of his own pro career. I'm looking here at a guy who played 11 years in the NFL. He was on 3 winning teams. He didn't change anything. Patrick Mahomes is on a Kansas City team this year that I'm here to tell you, without Patrick Mahomes, is not a winning football team. Well, I mean, they're not a 9-win team without Patrick Mahomes. That's a 7-10 team.
He's a game changer, so he would fall
He's a game changer.
Category.
So, and that's the difference.
I am here to tell you that without Cam Newton, that Carolina Panthers football team does not come close to ever sniffing a Super Bowl. Ever.
Maybe, but he didn't change the game enough. He had 3 winning seasons in the NFL. He played 11 years. He had 3 winning seasons.
Emil, I'm telling you, it would have been worse. If they had decided that they want to have this kind of roster offensively around their quarterback, and it was not Cam Newton, it would have been worse. I love when we do this about a team sport.
I do too.
You can take Troy Aikman, Emil, and put him on the Washington Redskins, or you can take Emil Calamina, or you could take Troy Aikman and you could go put him on the Cleveland Browns, or you could take Troy Aikman and go put him on the Atlanta Falcons. He's not winning 3 Super Bowls. Period. End of story. No. All right.
Okay.
What do you consider Michael Vick?
Michael Vick was a game changer.
Why would Michael Vick be a game changer and not Cam Newton?
Because I watched Michael Vick win playoff games in Lambeau, and nobody won playoff games in Lambeau.
You saw him win a playoff game in Lambeau.
I'm looking here. The year they went to the Super Bowl, Greg Olsen was an 1,100-yard receiver.
Thank God for Greg Olsen. He had one guy. Joe Montana had John Taylor and Jerry.
Let's look up just for fun here, well, since
Troy
we're here
Aikman
and we're
and
honest,
Alvin
let's look up
Harper
Michael Vick.
and Michael
Here's
Irvin and Emmett Smith and Jay Novacek.
right, but when people say game managers, it's the same argument that it's a backhanded compliment or slight, and it's the
I don't
same
think
thing.
he meant it even as a compliment.
It's the same thing people did with Phil Jackson for years. Oh, Phil Jackson, anybody can coach that talent. Well, guess what? I've seen a lot of coaches with the best teams
Yeah, see, I wouldn't
not
agree.
win.
I wouldn't agree with those people. I didn't even get to my final point here, though, Emil.
But to your final point,
More Super Bowl winning quarterbacks are game managers as opposed to game changers. Aaron Rodgers, game changer, one damn Super Bowl to his record.
right.
Dan
I agree.
Marino, 0. He's a game changer. That arm was out of this world. Game changer. Won games that probably they would not have won if David Woodley was the quarterback or Don Strock was the quarterback or Bob Greasy was the quarterback.
Right.
But when it comes down to it, it's a team game. And damn it, man, I want a manager there. And if he so happens to be dynamic, like a Patrick Mahomes, well, great. There's a small amount of those people walking the earth. But you know where there are a greater amount of people? Game manager types who have won Super Bowls. Troy Aikman, in my opinion, a game manager. They didn't ask him to do anything out of this world. He didn't have to do anything out of this world. We didn't see Troy Aikman scrambling around. He had a strong arm by strong arm standards, not elite, not John Elway, not Dan Marino, not Aaron Rodgers.
He had a Dan Marino like quick release. I've heard Jimmy Johnson talk about this with Aikman, and I'm not even disagreeing with your point because I think you're making a valid point.
He managed it, the 3 Super Bowls. Give me the game manager. I want that guy.
Yeah, I think what Jimmy used to say about Troy was all about the team. So
that's the game manager. That's the guy I want.
He was okay with throwing the ball 23 times, completing 17 of them for 220 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Hey, well, what do you think the Cowboys would have been if he threw 35, 40 times a game? 3 Super Bowls?
Losing. No.
Yes.
And no, but Jimmy always says if you wanted stats and if you just sent Troy out there to throw the football, he would have put up elite stats. Jimmy always says that.
Game changers are stat guys, and I don't really care for them unless they're super humble, or we get a Mahomesian type.
I'll give you another game changer. Brett Favre.
Yes.
How many Super Bowls did he have?
2, did he?
He got to 2.
1. Yes, 1. He beat the Patriots. Yes.
Right.
So yes, they're exciting, Emil. They're fun for fans. They sprout up big debates where people argue this one over that one, and some people can't get by the amazing athletic talent. But it's the ultimate team game. So give me a game manager. Give me Dak Prescott over Cam Newton. That might shake some earth waves, but Cam Newton, a specimen of all specimens. But you can give me a Dak Prescott. As it stands now, they both have 0 Super Bowl titles. But I can do, I think, a lot more with this guy than I can with this guy.
Yeah. To me, the basketball equivalent, and some of the younger listeners will have to go back for the second guy, would be like, do you want Tim Duncan or Dominique Wilkins? Because I can tell you who the better athlete
Dominique's
was.
always that guy that gets brought up in this. And I don't know that he was a big ego guy, but I'm
not saying he was. He was a phenomenal athlete, and anybody who's old enough to remember the guy, he was a highlight film.
Yes, like Sean Kemp, like Vince Carter, like all those guys. Yeah. It's fun to watch. But at the end of the day, if you're a fan of a team and you want to have back-to-back championships or some kind of a dynasty or 3 and 5 years, give me a game manager. I'll take the game manager. It's okay. I'll take the game manager. Randall Cunningham was fun to watch. I'm still pissed about that year Minnesota didn't get to the Super Bowl to play Denver. I'm still mad about that crap.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I know what season that was. That was the 98 season to get Minnesota. The kicker missed a field goal. It was probably his first or second miss all season against the Falcons in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, we let the Dirty Birds get into the Super Bowl against Denver. That's something I still think about. So, yes, I hear you, Cam Newton. I agree with you. Game managers, those guys probably are that. Of
Yeah.
those three guys named, we can't say they have dynamic arms, and we can't say they're dynamic with their feet. Dak doesn't run like that anymore, and he never really was dynamic. He could scramble, but he was not a dynamic scrambler. A
Dak was
dynamic
always,
scrambler is
what I like what Dak's doing this year, to my wife's credit, if she listens to this, she did say this. She said, "Man, he looks like this is my wife says this the other day. She goes, he's playing like he did the first couple of years in the league." And I said, "Well, for some reason in 2020, the pandemic season when he broke his ankle, the 2021 and 22 seasons, it's almost like they chained him into the pocket and said, 'Don't move.'" And that's not his game. Dak is not a runner. He's a runner to throw the football. He gets out of the pocket, and he's very good at throwing the football from those platforms, which not a lot of guys are. He can roll in both directions. I've seen him make throws. That's his game. He's not going to run down the field because the ball goes faster than your feet, as you like to say,
Mhm.
but he throws the ball. And now he's playing like the guy that I saw at Mississippi State and the first couple of years in Dallas.
I do want to give credit to somebody that maybe people don't want to give credit to, and it might fall back a little bit on something that I've said before, but I'll fix that. Um, you got to give a lot of credit to Mike McCarthy. And by the way, the game he called the other night was really, really good. As you know, sometimes I watch these games with a coaching hat on, and he did a really good job calling plays, as he's done most of the season. And I'm not in favor of the head coach being a play call guy. I just don't think you build organizations, programs, dynasties like that. So the Cowboys may get through all the way to the end, as you know, I think both of us predicted this year they may raise the trophy. It's just, can you do this long term? Can you put together a whole dynasty? Because things start to come up, then you're not paying attention because you're too involved in the minutia of putting together game plans and plays and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I
Yeah,
hope it's
you
going.
know me long. You know me long enough. I'll separate, what I send you during a game and what I actually think about it. I let 24 hours go because the fan of me goes away. And I've said, if you remember a couple of years ago, I always found it amusing. And I'm getting more and more respect for McCarthy because now I'm getting to watch what he's done here. He came in the pandemic year, they struggled when Dak broke his leg. But since then, counting the playoffs, they went 12-6, 13-6, 10-3 right now. You can't say that that's luck. Obviously, where this guy's gone, he's been a consistent winner. And it's funny to me how the narrative in the NFL is always, "Oh, Sean Payton's available. Sean Payton's available." And do you remember when I pulled up their records a couple of years ago and I said, "Here's this guy and this guy. Who are they?" Their records were it was ironic. They were almost identical down to the wins and losses, how many Super Bowls they each won, and they each had a Hall of Fame quarterback. So my point is always, why is it Sean Payton's a genius?
Mm.
Mike McCarthy, he's looking at the menu when he's coaching the game.
I think a lot of it sometimes is optics. I just think sometimes it's that it's just optics. This big heavy guy that sometimes just doesn't have the look or feel of being in control versus a Sean Payton who always came off that way in any kind of situation where he was speaking, whether it was on a pregame show or a halftime or after a game. He just gave off that feeling. And they were running some nifty plays over there with the Saints. They really were. So
The other
that's
thing that's amazing, the other thing that's amazing to me is, and I don't mean during a game, because I've said stuff like this during a game. I mean, when you have when you have time to step back as a fan, analyze. I know so many Cowboy fans that say things about Dak Prescott. I mean, it calmly on a Wednesday afternoon, and I'm thinking, are you guys watching the NFL? Because I mean, I can only name maybe 4 or 5 guys that. I'm saying overall, not just the way he's playing now, that I'd take over him.
I'm sure. It's got to be hard to play for the Dallas Cowboys and deal with a fan base that's America's team and has so many trophies in the trophy case, because you're coming behind all of that. That's just really, really tough, and it's just one of those situations. So if he doesn't get them to the Super Bowl, doesn't win the Super Bowl, then it's going to
By the
be
way,
pretty.
that's a good segue because speaking of trophies, let me ask you. That's the topic right now. Is Bill Belichick going to get fired?
Listen, Emil, I have no idea. I think history has shown that we're not very good in terms of public at large being able to determine what it is the New England Patriots are going to do. It's been one of the most buttoned up organizations of our lifetime. They don't really always disclose things. There'll be many rumors that'll go around. And so the latest rumor is that Bill will be let go. Do I think Bill should be fired? Emil, something has to happen there. And you would hope that Bill would bow out, but you know how greatness usually leaves in sports. It leaves the way Muhammad Ali did, the way Roy Jones Jr. did. Very rarely is it ever like a Barry Sanders or a Robert Smith or or Megatron. They don't.
Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, they don't. It rarely is it ever like that. And even when it is, we all just bemoan them leaving early. How much more did they have left in the tank? And they could have done this, they could have done that. So it looks like this is going to be one of those aforementioned ones where, he gets carried out of there and he kind of probably steps on his legacy, but that will only be temporary because as 5-10 years pass, he's going to be recognized as the best coach that's ever coached in this game, most likely.
All the coaches went out, the great coaches went out their final year or two not winning.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as a coach, you're not a player, so you don't have knees aching. And so unless you have a major medical issue, you're going to coach until it becomes apparent that you can't coach anymore. You're like players get forced out of the game because of physical limitations or injuries, etc.
Yeah.
It's really not the case for a coach. So you can literally coach until your last dying day. And so some of them are willing to go that far if they will. They're not leaving right after Super Bowl. Did Bill
I mean,
Walsh?
look at some of the
I don't remember.
legacies. We had Woody Hayes punching a Clemson player in some obscure bowl game. Bear Bryant, being ushered out after beating Illinois in the Liberty Bowl and dying, I think, a few months later. Tom Landry's last 2 years in Dallas. I mean, hell, he got them Troy. So I mean,
Yeah, guys, for anyone out there that's day traded or anything like that, no one sees their stock going up and it's, oh, we'll stop right here. There's a stop loss. That means there's a pullback from the peak. And then you're like, okay, now some people will let all the profits go away before they say so. But that's probably what's going to happen here. So I would like to say, I would think, I'd love to see Bill say, hey, that's it. I definitely don't want to ever see this happening with Nick Saban, but maybe he can be great long enough to where physically he just can't do it anymore and he's out on a winning note. But I think that's what's going to happen here with Bill. Is he going to get fired? Man, this is a situation I would not want to be Robert Kraft.
well, I mean, I'm sure I'm not sure. I should say, I would think the way Robert Kraft would do this is, they sit down and have a dinner, and he says, "Listen, Bill, you're an icon here. I'd love for you to be a special assistant to me or whatever title you want to make up for yourself. But we gotta change something. I'd like you to step down, tender your resignation because I don't want to fire you."
Emil, you think that conversation hasn't happened already? What do you
It
think
may
Bill
have.
Belichick is like at that dinner?
Well, the problem Bill Belichick has is Bill Belichick, the coach, may not need to be fired, but Bill Belichick, the GM, needs to be fired, and you can't separate the two. So, I mean, I think Bill Belichick can still coach. I think the problem is he picked the players and he's trying to coach bad players.
Yeah, I think there's an overbelief in his system and his way of doing things, and that any old Joe can do it.
Yeah, the game manager they had, the one that won the 7 Super Bowls,
Yeah,
he was
that
pretty
guy.
good.
Yeah, I mean, that's truth. And it largely in part because he bought in. And I will continue to say if Tom Brady was a first round pick, he might not have bought in like that. He was so grateful as a sixth rounder that he said, let me go with this.
All great football dynasties in the NFL, the quarterback and coach are joined at the hip.
You can't separate them.
So
We could do this
so it's
whole.
almost a silly exercise when people go through it to say, well, was it Belichick or Brady? It was both. We talked about this on other shows. You can go back through the dynasties from Bart Starr with Vince Lombardi
You can't. Like
to
Knowles not doing it without Bradshaw. Bradshaw's not doing it without
Staubach and
Montana. Not
Landry.
Montana, Walsh. It's not
Yep.
happening. Like you may have some success after that, but the length, and width of success just would not be there. Yeah, I know Steve Young won a Super Bowl in San Francisco, and it wasn't with Bill Walsh. I get that. I understand that. I know Joe Montana left and won a playoff game or two. I think they beat Houston when he went to Kansas City, and people forget that he went over there to Kansas City. But it just was not going to be
And
that.
let me ask you this. This is my perception of coaching since you've been in both, you've been close to both leagues. The difference to me, I've always said with forgetting the nuance, I'm saying on game day with the college coaches, a college coach, the position coaches are going to go out and get the message to the kids. College coach can whip you into a frenzy before a game. And you can go out there and kick somebody's tail. I view the pro game more like this, right? The quarterback is kind of generally de facto in the pro game the team leader. Now, you may have situations where unusual things like a Ray Lewis is, but most teams, the quarterback's the leader. So the coach relies on the quarterback to deliver the message all week in practice. In other words, we're going to be focused. And I that's my view of it, at least. I mean, the pro game to me is less about these big locker room speeches before a game and all that stuff. I think it's a lot
No,
of
and Emil,
what you
by and
do.
large, I think we give a little bit too much credit to that because I'm here to tell you a lot of that stuff wears off. If you're on the kickoff team, it could wear off on that first
First time
blast.
somebody hits you in the mouth, right?
Yes. I think one of the bigger differences between college coach, NFL coach is the preparation. Um, and that's where you can kind of get a feel for what a college coach might be at the next level if they're a guy that wins bowl games, because that's prep. And I think college NFL coaches they're worth more of their salt in the week of prep leading up to the games, because man, you're playing against equal talent. You're playing against teams that have seen you before, by and large, especially if you're playing a divisional opponent. So it's more in that. And a college coach, yes, you can get 19 and 20-year-olds a little more pumped up on game day or throughout the week with some kind of emotional, whatever the case may be. But I think the NFL coach is more of that week of prep. And then on game day, like you said, it's about that. It's about those team leaders, which is typically going to be the quarterback. Whereas in college, it could be a group of guys, like we've had a lot of seniors on this team, or everything
Yeah.
BYU has done because they've got 29-year-old guys
And
playing football at
and I
BYU.
mean, occasionally you'll see in a college game, a coach like a Nick Saban grabbing a guy, and but you just really don't see that as much in the pro game. And I sent you that video from back in, the video in the late '90s. It was on his NFL Life one where the Cowboys were having a wretched year, toward the end of Aikman's career, and he's on the sidelines, and you could just tell like this guy was
He was
badass.
losing
Like
it. Yeah,
he was losing his. He's like, this is bleep bleep bleep. This is Pop Warner.
that's exactly what it is. I think Tom Brady felt his last year in Tampa Bay. Now, we just didn't ever catch that on film, or he may have never done that, but I think that's just the feeling that he had in dealing like this is not what I'm used to. This is not what it's supposed to be. And rather than
So
go off
let's do
like
this
Troy,
quick before we get to our picks. We have a lot of picks to give out. I want to play a game with you, division by division. Give me your team. I'm going to give you the division. What teams will be looking for a coach? AFC East.
AFC East, New York Jets.
You think he's done?
I don't think he should be, but yeah, a lot of what's happened has been beyond his scope.
We just covered the Patriots. So you're going to go Patriots, Jets, looking for a coach.
Yeah,
AFC North.
Bears. Oh,
No,
AFC
no, AFC North.
AFC North. Wow, that's a
Nobody.
good one. I think everyone's safe there, man.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I mean,
Tomlin's
there's
Tomlin's
rumblings
safe.
about Tomlin, but the Steelers organization is not knee jerk.
No. AFC South.
Oddly enough, man, I think you know what, Tennessee
You think Vrabel's in trouble?
to go to New England when Bill leaves. Other than
Could
that,
be.
yeah, I
Could
mean,
be. He's
Carolina.
under contract though.
Can
I
I
mean,
say
they have to be.
Carolina? But they're already.
No, no, no. We're in
Well,
the
that's
South.
NFC. That's NFC. So I think
Now,
we're getting
AFC West. I already know where you're going in the AFC West. The Chargers are going to need a coach.
stat.
It's that.
And the Raiders have already lost their guy. So
Yeah, but I mean, are the Raiders going to give Pierce a chance full time? What do you think?
he's got to win some games, man.
Yeah.
We've seen this before. You get that initial
Yes.
burst from a guy. All the players love him. And I've got to say this, and this might be a little controversial. When we're in a situation where there's an interim coach or we have a firing right at the end of the year and all the players want a certain guy, it's usually not the guy, Emil. The
No.
head coach has to he has to toe the line of having the players respect and maybe admiration, but fear him as well too, to get them to do things they don't necessarily want to do. Football is a whole lot of stuff you might not really want to do, but you do it anyway. The running, the stuff in the
Yeah.
summer, the pads, the taking on, if you're a cornerback now, a 300-pound lineman that you can't cut low. There's a bunch of stuff going on that you don't want to do. And it takes an edgy guy to give that fear in you to make you do that stuff. And if everyone loves the coach,
Well,
everyone loved Larry
Let's
Culper.
throw the Raiders on the list. We're at 4. I
Sure.
think I think it's easy on the NFC East. It's going to be the Commanders.
Yes, that's easy.
I think the Giants coach, I think he's kind of steadied the ship now. Winning these games with Tommy DeVito to me
Oh, oh, he's
is
made
at
it the
least,
quarterback's fault.
well,
Yeah, you're
I,
winning games with DeVito, so it's like that really has made it the quarterback's fault.
yeah,
So
but I'm just saying, I mean, you got to be impressed. He's rallied. The team hasn't quit on him.
yeah, no, I agree.
So I think we're at 5. The NFC North, I think you immediately went to the
Chicago.
Bears.
Yeah, Chicago.
So that's 6. Carolina,
Well,
7.
they already threw their guy away.
And I
So
think the other guys in that division should be safe, right?
there might be problems in Tampa. I don't know.
Let's stay with 7 because this list is getting lengthy. Arizona's guy is safe. He's new, and they
Yeah,
knew
he
what they
can
were
take those
dealing with.
lumps right now, and
Yeah, Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers obviously safe
no one's
unless
going
people.
anywhere unless Sean McVay says I want to quit while I'm
Yeah,
at.
so we'll probably have one we don't expect.
Right.
So we're probably looking at a quarter of the league's going to need coaches. 8 teams. It's a lot of
But
coaches.
par for the course, man. That's how this thing rolls. But hey,
You
all
know
right,
what it's time for?
enough of this pro stuff. It's College Bowl Bonanza time, sponsored by Vivada Sportsbook. For all of you out there running around looking for a place for you to drop those magical parlays and the wise ones that want to do the straight bets that are going to pay for your Christmas, head on over to Bovada Sportsbook online, one of the longest running and most respected sports books that there is out there. Quick payouts, great bonuses, and they've got these parlay boosters now, Emil. So they're trying to charge up your payouts on your parlays. So there are many, many great reasons to head on over to Bovada, especially this holiday season and bowl season. So we can head into this. Emil, how you go one, I go one.
Yes, let's each give a pick. And then at the end, I'll be kind enough for the listeners to summarize all our picks down the row. We're going into the bowl season. Chad's had a hell of a college season. So he's 30-12. And I'm here to tell you guys, this is not me blowing sunshine up his skirt, as the saying goes, but he is usually very good at these bowl games. I have to give you credit. So you've got 10
I
of them.
hope
You're
this
going in
guy
at
is
30
not.
and 12.
I hope this guy's not jinxing me, but I can have
And
an
I'm
absolutely
24 and 18. So I had a good year. But next to your 30 and 12,
I can have an absolutely horrendous bowl season and still be pretty good here, but I don't plan on doing that because I feel really good about these picks here. I think you should go first, and I'll end with the last pick because it's kind of
okay. I'm going to start off on a game. I'll tell you guys the dates on these. It's December 16th, so I guess that's this Saturday. And my powder blue cousins from UCLA are playing Boise State in a bowl game, and UCLA's been installed as a 4-point favorite. I don't know why. To be honest with you, I got no idea. Chip Kelly's on the hot seat. Who knows if he'll be there? They just beat USC, so that was
You want him to be
their
underdog to this group of 5 squad? Are you what?
yeah, their cherry on the cake. Their quarterback transferred. Their defensive coordinator, after they beat USC, said, "Hey, you know what? Thanks a lot. I'm going to work for the rivals." So I don't know what's going on here, but I know one thing: Boise State will show up, and they usually are a competitive football team, and they would love nothing better than end their season beating a Power 5 team. So I'm going to grab Boise State with 4 points in this game.
All right, my first one up, also on 12-16, is going to be the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Listen, Texas Tech had a solid season. And one of the great things that we have going for us in this particular bowl game is a common opponent. Both of these squads played Oregon. Albeit Texas Tech played Oregon early in the year at home. Cal played Oregon later on in the season in Oregon. But the performance in that game for these two teams was so contrasted. Texas Tech lost an 8-point game to Oregon. I think Oregon's still scoring against Cal. I think it was 63-19, something like that. Cal just did not show up. And while Cal has had a decent season by way of them being in this bowl game, they just really couldn't stand toe to toe with some of the better teams that came up. And I think Texas Tech is a solid ball club. They play decent defense. They can do some things offensively. And I just really think they're the stronger team in this particular situation. And Cal doesn't have a whole bunch of recent bowl experience to even really lean on. So I'm going to roll with Texas Tech in this
one. Okay, fair enough. I like.
And they're -3, I believe. Yes,
they are -3. I'm rolling to 12-23. So you got to wait a week for the next pick. And, this is an interesting game. I mean, as far as these early bowl games goes, we have James Madison who came up. They were a powerhouse in the lower division, FCS. They, obviously they don't play a top-rated schedule, but still coming up in a division last couple of years, they've been really good. They got into this game because there wasn't enough eligible teams because you have to wait a couple of years before you're eligible. They're put into a game with Air Force. James Madison comes in 11-1. They're installed as a 3-point favorite against Air Force, and I'm grabbing Air Force +3 in this game. One thing I know about the academies, they're going to play hard, and that type of offense, I know James Madison has some prep time, but it's still a pain in the ass to play defense against. And no, I'm not so sure that James Madison, sure, they may be amped up to win a bowl game, but I'm not sure Air Force will necessarily get their juices going to where if they were playing a Power 5 team as a big dog. I think this is a game where they're just happy to be there, and Air Force comes in and runs that triple option and probably has some success, and I'm going to grab the 3 points.
All right, taking Air Force in that one. All right, my second game is also on 12-23, so you got to wait a week for mine as well. I'm going to take Northwestern Wildcats. And Emil, if you would have asked me in the beginning of the season if I think Northwestern would come anywhere close to being bowl eligible, given everything that happened in the beginning of the season with their head coach and everything that went on there, I don't want to get into the details of it. We all know what happened with Northwestern. I would have said no, but they closed with the fury at the end of the year. 3 straight wins, get themselves into a bowl game. They're riding a high right now. This is not, Emil, where Utah expected to be at the end of the season. They came in here feeling really good about, last season, Cam Rising coming back and what they were going to be able to do in the Pac-12. And it just so happens that the Pac-12 had their greatest season in decades and teams were stronger and Utah just couldn't hang with the big boys this year. I'm sure they saw themselves in the Fiesta or an Orange or a Rose Bowl or something of that nature or something somewhere close. They certainly did not see themselves in Las Vegas playing on 12-23. And I'm here to tell you, Las Vegas is the absolute wrong place to be if you're not interested in a bowl game because distractions are abound. Even if you're a Ute and you might be a little different. I don't like them as 7-point favorites. I think all of the motivation here is on the side of Northwestern, especially in that Big Ten that's going to change next year. They have to try and find some kind of foothold in there. I like them as 7-point underdogs in this contest.
Very good. Keep talking because I'm not going to add much to what you just said. I also love Northwestern in this game +7. I think it's going to be very hard for Utah to find the motivation necessary to produce a blowout win here. And Northwestern, from where they started, if they were to win this game and finish the season 8-5, you want to talk about a success story. I would call that one of the hidden success stories that most people will forget about this year because you and I both thought they were like a 3-win team after what went down there. So yeah, give me Northwestern +7. Keep going.
All right. Yeah, my next one is going to be the green. Give me the Green Wave, the 11-2 Green Wave, the disrespected Green Wave, the Green Wave that beat the USC Trojans and let everyone know what was to come for the mighty guys of Troy in 2023. We should have really seen what was coming. But the Green Wave plays really, really good football, strong football. They play really well on defense. And then what really was 6-6 Virginia Tech this year? I mean, they're kind of lucky to be in this bowl game. They kind of backed their way into it. They're choppy. They've been all over the place. And I just don't know if that's the kind of team that comes in as an 8.5-point favorite. I think all of the motivation really lies on the side of Tulane right here, who's no stranger to playing in a bowl game and playing against a well-known opponent. And so I think they come to this one full of piss and vinegar, being a greater than a touchdown favorite, and give Virginia Tech all that they can handle, while Virginia Tech just thinks, oh, it's Tulane. It's not one of those guys, and they're going to find out that they were dead wrong.
I like it. Tulane +8. So you're on 12-27. I'm still on 12-23 with my fourth pick.
Good man.
And here's another team that kind of quietly, especially the second half of the year, had a great year. San Jose State is playing Coastal Carolina. They're both 7-5, but these are divergent 7-5 football teams. San Jose State started off the year with USC, and whatever you want to say, USC had a big for whatever season they had. That's a tough way to start. And then they played Oregon State. They start at 1-4, and we kind of forgot about them. They have a really good quarterback. He was the Mountain West Player of the Year in 2022. They went on a tear the second half of the year. They went on a ripper, and this team played great football the last 7 games of the season. They're a 10-point favorite. So you look at these two games, these two teams, same record, different teams altogether. Coastal Carolina played UCLA and lost by 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think they got worse as the season went along. I like San Jose State. I think they're going to put a cherry on their season right here and go out in style and blow out Coastal Carolina. So give me San Jose State -10.
-10. That's, a lot of bread to be laying there on that one.
It is a lot of bread.
But yeah, when you make San Jose a 10-point favorite, it's probably for a good reason in a bowl game. I'm going to stay with this kind of weird matchup of teams that used to be in the same kind of conference, in the same region, et cetera, but have a whole lot going on. Texas A&M lost Jimbo Fisher and $77 million that he took with him as the failed head of this program that feels they should be in the college football playoff and win championships. They're taking on Oklahoma State, and the same old face in Mike Gundy, one of the elder statesmen now in college football coaching. Emil, I might be scarred by the couple of times I decided to tune into Oklahoma State football this year. And it really got driven home in the last game in the Big 12 championship. That's just horrible defense. I just can't believe that that's what made it to the Big 12 championship game. And it just looked disinterested. And Emil, it just doesn't look like something that could get fixed really, really fast. I got a lot of USC vibes in watching Oklahoma State go about their business defensively. And Texas A&M has a chance here to wash all of their sins and sorrows and bad feelings away in this football game. And they do have a brand new head coach in Mike Elko. And you've got guys on that roster that need to do some kind of they've got to impress this new guy. So there's motivation there for Texas A&M in this game that is being played in Houston, Texas, by the way. And so I like them here as a small favorite. I just don't like Oklahoma State, the way they closed out the season and the way they're playing football right now. I mean, they should have lost that BYU game. They got demolished by Texas, and they just haven't shown up defensively. And if you can't do that in a bowl game, it's going to be a big problem for you. So give me Texas A&M as a small 3-point favorite in this
one. Okay. You can keep talking because my next pick is on 12-27. It was one you covered, one of your picks earlier. And at the end, I'll summarize for the listeners which picks Chad and I are on together. I like Tulane as well, +8 points. Again, I think Tulane is being underrated here. They have a chip on their shoulder, and the line is purely based on Virginia Tech being a Power 5 team. In my mind, I don't see the motivation that gets Virginia Tech up for Tulane, much the same way last year USC had trouble getting up for that game a little bit because they had just lost the Pac-12 title game. So for me, I look at this game and say, give me 8 points in Tulane. They're an 11-2 team. They've been good the last couple of years. Winning teams, like that from smaller conferences tend to, punch above their weight in bowl games.
Yes. So we agree on that one. Folks can do with that what they will. I'm going to move on to my next one, and it is backing a team that you kind of turned me on to this season, Arizona. Arizona, since that quarterback change, has been remarkably different. They're undefeated since that quarterback change. And not only that, just putting up points by the bunches 44, 27, 27, 34, 42, and the end of the year against their arch rival in Tempe, 59-23 over Arizona State. And I think Arizona is rolling right now. And the way this line is built, and it opened up as Arizona's -4 over Oklahoma, a big name program. That's just going to draw in all that Sooner money that I already see coming in. But Arizona is the better side right now. I've got love for Brent Venables and what I think he's going to do at Oklahoma, but I think he's a couple of years away from really getting this thing to where it wants to be. And there were some things that showed up towards the end of the year, most notably the way they played against BYU with the Big 12 championship appearance still in the balance. I don't like that at all. So there seems to be a little bit of a motivation problem there for Oklahoma, getting up when they need to get up. And now they're in a bowl game that's far below what it is Oklahoma's used to being in. I can believe you me, Arizona is happy to be in this bowl game, and I think they're going to be rip roaring and ready to go. So I like them as small favorites here. And maybe the betting public will take it down even below this number by the time our trusty fans can get a hold of this one.
I swear, guys, we don't talk about these picks before we do them. I'm on the same. My next pick, my sixth pick, is Arizona -3. Oklahoma just lost their quarterback to the transfer portal. He'll be quarterbacking Oregon next year. For those guys, for those of you keeping score, and while a 10-2 season is nothing to be ashamed of, they aren't playing in any game they want to be playing in. This is not, like you just said, it's not who they envision playing. It's not where they envision playing. And it's not what they envision playing for, which is nothing other than, pride. And when that happens, I like the team that has a reason to want to win the game. And for Arizona, it's a big, whatever you want to say, rack
Stepping
on the
stone.
wall.
Yeah,
Yeah,
stepping
if you're
stone
a
to where
deer
they're trying
hunter,
to get.
getting Oklahoma is a big deal for you if you're Arizona.
Yes.
So for me, this one's evident. The line's telling you where to go. They've made Arizona the favorite. They're telling you they already believe what team will be more motivated, and I do too. Give me Arizona -3.
All right. My next game, I love this one when it came out. Now, a lot of cheese has come off of this line, but Clemson, who has, played for national championships and played in big time bowl games and has done really, really great things, is going to go play in a Gator Bowl on a Friday on 12/29. This is a far cry from where Clemson is used to playing, where they thought they'd be playing. Someone on this broadcast thought that they would win the ACC. And I didn't totally disagree with it, except I thought Florida State would be really, really good. But this is not what Clemson thought they would be doing at this time of the year. What's left here? What's left here for Clemson to play for? Pride, we just talked about that in the last pick. I don't know if that's enough. Now, Kentucky is coming into this one, and they get a chance to go after a Clemson, a ranked football team, a former college football champion who beat Alabama, the best team in Kentucky's conference. And, Kentucky might be smarting a little bit off of the finish to the year, and they almost lost their coach, except everyone in Texas A&M said, hell no, you can leave that Mark Stoops guy over there in Kentucky. We don't want him. Oh, you know what? That's motivation for Mark Stoops. I'm going to show you guys just how good of a coach I am. So I'm sure he'll have those boys whipped into a frenzy, and Clemson will come out here going through the motions. I think Kentucky hangs in there tough and probably wins this game straight up as a 4.5-point under.
Okay. My next one, I'm still on 12/28. That was the day before with Arizona. I have another game that day. I really like SMU in this game against Boston College. First of all, anybody who follows college football knows SMU can put up points, well, especially when they're playing these type of opponents. And I just think Boston College is going to be hard pressed to keep up with SMU if they start scoring. Um, the line's 10.5. I usually don't like these double digit lines, but I just think SMU's an 11-2 team. They'd love a nice 12-win season. Boston College comes in here kind of They're 6-6. I think one of their wins was against Holy Cross, if I'm not mistaken. It's just not a great Boston College team. The line tells us that. And to me, if I'm laying points like that, I'm laying it with a team that regularly scores 45 and above, and that's SMU. So give me SMU minus 10 and a half on that's a 12-28 game.
Yeah, you got to have offense, and SMU has it in bunches. So um, you back the side there. If you're going to lay double digits, you definitely back the proper kind of offense to be doing that. We're going to slide. We're staying actually for me on Friday, and it is the Liberty Bowl, which take place in Memphis, Tennessee. Playing in that are the Memphis Tigers. So they've got a home game here against everyone's darling in the Big 12, Iowa State. And yeah, I get it. They're, overachievers, but I think this team has peaked and they have not, been able to cross that hump. And here they are in a Liberty Bowl against a group of 5 team. Iowa State's really been wanting to bump up for the longest time now, and they just can't get past the 8-4, 7-5, 8-4, 7-5. And they thought they were going to get there. And what do you get at the end of the year? Memphis? Oh my God, in their hometown. And what's there to really do in Memphis anyway? After we've seen all the Elvis Presley stuff, what are we doing really here in Memphis? So I don't know if Iowa State's going to be sky high enough to go beat this team by 8.5 points in their backyard. Memphis is going to have that hometown pride. And while Iowa State has decided to sacrifice a little defense for some offense, which they are a little more explosive offensively this year, I just don't think that's enough for them to be an 8.5 point favorite against a solid Memphis football team that has, done stuff like hang with Missouri this year in Missouri by, they lost by a touchdown at Missouri and they beat Arizona State. So they're not going to crumble when they see, a team of this stature standing in front of them. So give me Memphis as this big underdog in this game in their backyard.
Let me paint 2 pictures for you. Little break here as I diverge. Anybody old enough, when I paint this picture, you'll get it, Chad. This game's on Friday at 3 o'clock on December 29th. Right now, I could almost picture it. It's raining. Nobody's there. Okay.
There's 11 people in the stands. Yes.
At 2 o'clock that day, we have the Sun Bowl. That one, it'll be sunny, just like the Sun Bowl in El Paso, with about 15,000 people there, and the temperature will be about 30 degrees. Am I
Yes.
wrong?
Sun Bowl
Okay.
always sucks weather-wise.
Oh, it's terrible. Anyway, you're on Memphis plus 8.5. I happen to like that. I didn't pull the trigger, but I like the pick. I'm on the same day. I'm slipping down to the Cotton Bowl here. I'm grabbing Missouri minus 2.5 against Ohio State. Another situation much like that Arizona game with Oklahoma, where I just see Ohio State coming in here. Great season, 11-1, but they lost the last game of the season. They missed their goal. And now they're going to have a bunch of guys making business decisions,
Huh.
sitting out a bowl game, not playing. Is there a quarterback in the portal, by the way? I thought he was. Is he or no? I think he was because Ryan Day was non-committal on if he's going to be the starter next year.
Yeah, I think he is. But, you got to
So,
always double check that stuff now.
yeah, no, I'm pretty certain he's in the portal. So, that's not why I'm making the pick anyway. I don't care who plays quarterback. I just love Missouri. They're not a team to be screwed around with. They're a really good football team. Kind of flew under the radar this year, but 10-2. They had Georgia in a back and forth game this year. I think they lost 30-21. This is a really good SEC team against an unmotivated Ohio State team in my mind. So I'll gladly lay 2.5 here, and I expect Missouri to control this game.
All right, excellent pick, Missouri over. I think it will be the Ohio State Buckeyes, but maybe not the ones that lined up against Michigan. All right, we're getting into the nitty-gritty here. One of the teams that got cheated in the college football playoffs is the Florida State Seminoles. One could say they were the most cheated. Add to this the fact that they are 14-point underdogs in this game, and you've got some kind of double whammy going on here. We all know how Florida State's going to come into this game, full of piss and vinegar. And there are those that will suggest that Georgia is going to be feeling the same way. I'm going to kind of have to disagree. Georgia is used to playing in the college football playoffs. They're used to playing for the trophy. Now, after all the dust has settled and they realize we're just not only are not going to be playing for the college football playoff, we're not even in the playoff. we got to go line up against this Florida State team that doesn't have their quarterback. I don't know if Georgia is going to be able to get it together mentally, because for the last 3 years, Emil, it's just been big game after big game after big game. And I know it's Florida State. I don't think Georgia's able to look at this game in that way. And then, the odds makers are telling us we got to win this thing by 14. What message did you send to the kids when you made a line like that? Yes, Jordan Travis was a dynamic. When we talked about that word, he's a game changer, right? That's a game changer, because you won all your damn games and didn't get in the college football playoff because that guy was hurt. So that's a game changer, Cam Newton, if you wanted to, any kind of an example of what that is. But yes, Jordan Travis is on the shelf, but that defense is still there. Those playmakers on offense are still there. And I think with a month to prepare, Florida State's going to cook up some stuff, and they're going to have some looks on offense that Georgia is not going to have any idea how to defend. There's one game film on their backup quarterback. So I like Florida State to cook some things up. I like Florida State to be extremely doubly pissed off by being kicked out of the college football playoff as an undefeated team from the ACC and a 2-touchdown underdog. It's like we've run out of cheek space because it's been all slapped up. Florida State's going to come in there hopping, pissing mad, and the motivation is all theirs as they play down here in South Florida in front of a bunch of recruits that they would like to get to Tallahassee. Give me Florida State and all those 14 points.
Yeah, I don't think the odds makers did Georgia any favors here,
Not at
because
all.
the message they're sending Georgia is, listen, the reason Florida State's not in the playoff is because without their quarterback, they're not very good. So, if this was like a 3-point line or something crazy, I could see Georgia being motivated to hang a loss on Florida State. But I think now they just look at it like they're in a
Yeah,
lose-lose
because the feeling would
situation.
have been like, wait a minute, we're only 3-point favorites over this team that you just didn't put in the college.
Yeah,
But no, you're telling us we're 2 touchdowns better? Like we're treating them like they're Vanderbilt? I don't think so.
yeah. So I'm with you. I like Florida State too. Good pick there. I'm sliding over my local team up here. For anybody who doesn't know the show, Chad's out of Miami. I'm out of Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania. So
You'd never
this is
know it with the teams he backs.
No, this is Penn State country, but this is, I think, a tough spot for Penn State. They have a couple NFL guys.
I just knew you were going to fade the Nittany Lion.
No.
No
Well,
shot.
I did pick them this year. Go back and look at my record. I won games with Penn State. I took them against Rutgers. I'll tell you the games I took them.
Rutgers, yes.
Did I win?
You did.
Okay. This is a game where some of their better defensive players that are draft eligible are going to sit out of the game. They're playing a very good, again, SEC squad coming in. Ole Miss, 2 losses all year at Alabama, at Georgia. There's no shame in that. They're 3.5-point underdogs. Ole Miss will move the football. I'm not saying they'll go up and down the field, but this might be the best offense when you count all the parts that Penn State sees this year, because Michigan, a better football team, but not super dynamic offensively. And Ohio State was not Ohio State this year as they normally are. They have the best player in the country, but the quarterback was. I think this is a tough game for Penn State, tough spot. They're not playing a game that they want to be playing. They expected to have a shot at the college football playoff. They lost both their rivalries this year to Ohio State and Michigan. I'm going to take Lane Kiffin to do some fun stuff in a bowl game. He'd like to get Penn State a win over Penn State and finish 11-2 in the top 10. So I'm going to grab Ole Miss plus 3.5.
Yeah, it's bowl, all eyes on me, and Lane's going to want to pull some stuff out of where. All right, I'm going to roll to New Year's Day, 2024, folks. I'm taking you into the next year with this one. Emil, do you remember the images of Bo Nix with that towel over his head after the loss in the college football, in the Pac-12 championship game? That is a symbol for this entire team, hungover. Because going into this thing, the world thought Oregon was going to beat Washington and slide their way into that college football playoff. Well, not only did they not do that, they are now in a bowl game against a team called Liberty. Not against someone from the Big 12 or not against someone from the Big 10 or the SEC or even the ACC. It's Liberty. It's the Bible college that they're going to go play in the Fiesta Bowl. I just don't think, Emil, this team's going to be able to get up for that. And is Bo Nix even playing in this game? I don't even know. I don't know if he is. I don't know what's going on.
You don't care.
Yeah, I can't see Oregon. having the fields for this one, or even having enough fields to cover 17.5 points. Hey, I'm here to tell you something about this Liberty football team. They closed out the year scoring 49, 42, 49, 38, 56, 42, 42. Liberty's going to find a painted area of the field. Whether or not they're going to be able to play defense against Oregon, we'll find out. A lot of that's going to have to do with how motivated Oregon is. And again, I don't think they will be. So Liberty's going to find that end zone. I think it's going to turn into one of these. I don't know what the total is on this, but it's probably an over game. Probably one of those ones where we get 78
You know
points.
how I see a game like this going typically? If Oregon shows up, they're not very interested. They see Liberty. Liberty hasn't played a strong schedule. All of a sudden, Liberty jumps out 7 or 10-0. And then Oregon starts playing. And I think it's one of those games where, like you're saying, it just gets a little crazy.
Emil,
Probably
listen to
Oregon.
Lane and USC last year. That's what I'm saying.
Probably Oregon wins in the end, but
45
17 and a
42.
half.
45 42, 44 38. I like a team that scores points like Liberty to get inside of a number this big. So I'm going to take Liberty and all.
Well, we're on our last pick, and then I'll summarize. And if for any of you aren't following along, we're basically at the playoffs. So I'm going to pick one of the playoff games. Okay, we have 13-0 Washington, the number 2 seed, playing 12-1 Texas, the number 3 seed. Yet Texas is the favorite, and I think that there's a reason here. And again, this isn't to denigrate Washington because they went 13-0. They won all their games. Okay, it's all that matters. But I looked at those games, 13 games. They won 7 one-score games. Nothing wrong with that. It just that's very slanted. Usually, even the best teams aren't going to win every one-score game, which tells me one, they're cool under pressure, but two, they aren't really separating from people. And this is going to be a game where they're playing probably the best roster that they've seen this year. Oregon's a really good team, but Texas has elite NFL talent on that roster. And I think that becomes a problem. I saw my team, USC, who wasn't interested in playing defense, move the ball at will on Washington. I mean, they scored 42 points. And Sarkisian's he's a pretty good offensive mind. He's got an NFL caliber quarterback. He's got NFL caliber talent across the offense. I think they're going to score a lot of points on Washington. And while I do think Washington will score themselves, in the end, I think this is one that Texas wins by 10 to 14 points. So give me the Longhorns.
All righty. Taking Texas in this one, and your line was
4.
Texas is -4. All right. You've got one college football playoff game. I've got the other. By now, all of you out there have seen the reaction by the Michigan fans and faithful and all those watching with bated breath as to how the college football playoff was going to shake out when they announced that Alabama was the opponent. They were number 4 to Michigan's number 1. An audible gasp was let out in the room. Emil, that tells you a lot. That tells me a whole hell of a lot. They really wanted that Florida State team to come into town, but no, you've got Alabama. You've got Nick Saban. You've got the godfather of football. You've got the guy who's very difficult to beat when you give him a whole month to prepare. And this is still Alabama. And Alabama closed out the year in strong fashion. I do remember a show where we were discussing, hey, man, could this possibly be it for Nick Saban? I think it was after the loss to Texas, or maybe it was the struggle the next week with the South Florida Bulls. Because
I was texting you the obituary for them during the
we were
halftime in
we were
Tennessee.
typing it up, and we were trying to find the best picture of Nick that we could put on the front cover of that thing. And lo and behold, the man has risen like the Undertaker out of the coffin, and he's got a strong football team with a quarterback that is not. He's not as proficient as a Tua Tagovailoa. He can't run around with the thing like a Jalen Hurts, but the guy, oh, well, maybe he can. That's probably been the biggest part of it. He can run around with it, but whatever it is, it's working for Alabama football. And Emil, I think this is a problem for Michigan. I think Michigan wanted to cruise into this game because remember what happened last year? They couldn't get by round 1. So I think they wanted to cruise into this thing and just get to that championship game. But oh no, you've got to go face a solid SEC team. And now it's that whole Big Ten SEC thing. And you know what's going to be a problem? What do you think they're going to be talking about for a month? And for that heavy 1 week that they're at the bowl location with Michigan? All of the sign stealing nonsense, and is Jim going to stay? Is he going to leave? Is he going to get forced out? What are the sanctions? Blah 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 blah. That's going to be a big time distraction for this Michigan football team, while Alabama keeps their head down, their eyes forward, and just finds a way to get themselves into that championship game and to piss off all of college football outside of the state of Alabama, outside of that 205 area code. And lo and behold, man, Nick Saban finds himself in another damn championship game. And according to you, it's going to be against another one of his former assistants, and Steve Sarkisian. That's how I think this thing's rolled.
How cool would it be, since I don't have necessarily a dog in the hunt, to see a rematch of that early season game?
You know how I am with rematches.
Oh yeah.
In a season where we were throwing dirt on that damn thing. We were in there with the shovels like the guys from Goodfellas getting ready to bury this guy. He gets in there against Texas. I really like his chances to raise another trophy when you thought he was dead. Damn it, from Knoxville and from Athens.
It won't be his best team that he ever won it with, but it might be his best coaching job
at this point. Well,
it might be his best. It might be his best coaching job.
Oh yeah, because all kind of crazy decisions could have been made after that USF game. You know, he really could have just went off the rails right there, but he whispered, calmed the storm, and they found a way to make that quarterback work. And yeah, man, I think he's going to be in the thick of it again. Old Dirty Nick going to be back in it again. All right, that's it.
Let me summarize for everybody out there. Here's my 10 picks in order: Boise State +4, Air Force +3, Northwestern +7, San Jose State -10, Tulane +8, SMU -10.5, Arizona -3, Missouri -2.5, Ole Miss +3.5, and the Texas Longhorns in the playoff game -4.
Here's a nice balanced ticket. 5 faves, 5 dogs. Did you plan that?
Not bad. I didn't plan it that way. Chad's picks in order: Texas Tech -3, Northwestern +7. That's a game we're both on if you're taking notes. Tulane +8. That's a game we're both on. Texas A&M -3. Arizona -3. The third game we're both on the same team on 3 sides. That's Arizona. Kentucky +4. Memphis +8.5. Florida State +14. Liberty Bibberty +17.5. And Bama +1.5.
There we go. That is a wrap on our College Bowl Bonanza picks. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's just going to make your bowl season that much more fun. All right. We didn't forget about the NFL. We're going to hit that on the way out the door. I guess I'm going first, right? But go ahead and give a summary on our
summary last week. Quickly, I was 2-1. Winners on the Bengals and Giants. Loser on the Seahawks +10.5. Season record stands at 24-17 with a push. Chad had a push on the Raiders +3, and probably the most boring game in the last 50 years in the NFL. He had the Chiefs -1.5. That was a tough pill to swallow. And
Darius Tony, what the hell?
Yeah, look down the line. Look down the line, please.
And if you check with the referee, wait for him to answer you, for crying out.
Broncos +2.5. So he was 1-1-1.
I put a stroke in every column.
Yeah, 2021 with a push. So, Chad, you can go first here in the pros.
All right. I swore off both of these damn teams earlier this year, but upon further review and more information and a settling of the stones, the clearing of the smoke, you know what? When I cancel a team out and they play another team that I cancel out, they cancel out each other. And so now I can take the game. You see how that works? All right. Green Bay got their pants pulled down on Monday night in front of the nation as New York and the Fighting DeVitos. Did you happen, Emil, to notice his agent in the stands? in the state.
Today.
Yeah, I love that DeVito kid and the Giants, but that's not who we're talking about here. Green Bay's been playing good football. That Monday night game aside, I don't know what happened to them there, but they're coming back home to the tundra. It's not going to be frozen, but you're inviting the Southern boys from Tampa into town. And this is one of those things, man, where I'm just going to back the better quarterback, albeit not by a landslide. It's early yet, at home. And that is one Jordan Love, who's been playing pretty good football of late, and the Green Bay Packers, who've been solid. I like them back home off of the national television loss versus a Bucks team coming in, kind of snoozing off of a win. 3.5-point favorites. I don't think that's too much to ask. Give me the Packers in that one. I'm going to slide on over to another team that took a loss last week, who had the surging Houston Texans losing by 24 to Zach Wilson and the New York Jets. Not this guy. So it's probably going to be an intense week. Has been an intense week of preparation and practice for the Houston Texans, who are really trying to do some things. And yeah, things are a little different without Tank Dell in the lineup, but they're still a solid football team. And they're getting a team that's going to be so giddy coming into town. It's Tennessee Titans that pulled a rabbit out of a hat on Monday night, coming down to Miami and beating the Dolphins on national television. I like Houston in this ball game. They're the better football team. Tennessee caught lightning in a bottle, and lightning's going to leave. I like Houston in this one. Speaking of the Miami Dolphins, boy, they screwed the pooch there. They had an opportunity. Now they've let the Bills get back into this thing and meddle around with them. Have you seen the remainder of Miami's schedule? It's the Cowboys, it's the Ravens, it's the Bills, and then it's these guys, the visiting Jets, who just somehow pulled off a 24-point victory. They're not going to know how to act off of something like that. And the Dolphins, if they want to be taken seriously, not only must beat the Jets, who they, handled earlier this year at their place, they must beat them handily and get their crowd to fix their face in the stands. This can't be a 20-17. It can't be one of those 24-21 type deals. They've got to take the Jets and dismantle them from head to toe. I look for the Dolphins to play better defense and to uncork some offense there. I think Mike McDaniel digs in the bag here and covers 8.5, because this line really should be around 10.5, 11. So I'm gonna take the value there.
So summarize that for us, so anybody who lost track.
Green Bay Packers at home against the Baker Mayfield and the boys from the South. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers is 3.5-point favorites. Give me Green Bay. I'm taking the Houston Texans as 3-point underdogs against the Tennessee Titans. Then I'm taking Miami as 8.5-point favorites at home against the New York.
I see what you're doing there.
What's that?
Taking those Monday night losers coming back.
Well, those things get inflated. You know that.
Okay, let's slide over here. Many of our consistent listeners might be a little bit surprised here, but I'm grabbing the Buffalo Bills -2.5 in that national game Sunday. And I'll tell full disclaimer here, I'm a Cowboys fan. I'll be rooting for the Cowboys, but one thing you learn, who you root for doesn't always end up who's going to win, because if that was the case, we would have won the last 25 Super Bowls. So here's the thing. I think Dallas in a tough spot here. I don't think they're going to get blown out. I think they're too talented to get blown out. But I think the Bills are playing for their lives here. And Dallas is coming off probably one of the two biggest rivalry games in the NFL right now. Dallas Eagles, Ravens Steelers. I think it's hard to go on the road to Buffalo playing a team that really has to have this game. Buffalo loses this game, they're in a world of hurt in terms of just making the playoffs. The Cowboys are in the playoffs. So for me, I'm taking the desperate team here. I'm grabbing the Bills. It's not a field goal. This game might be decided by 6, 7 points, like 31-24. I'm taking Buffalo. Sliding right along, I'm coming back with a Monday night team that we just saw. I really like the Giants +6. And the reason I do is I think this is going to be a really low-scoring game. And 6 points is a lot in a low-scoring game. The Saints are having trouble moving the football. They play pretty good defense. The Giants seem to somehow have found a defense, or at least a semblance of one, and they're playing hard for this quarterback and coach. I kind of like them grabbing 6 here. I could see them winning this game. The Saints, I'm not impressed with. Give me the Giants +6. And then finally, sliding into the other half of a team that a lot of people are going to run to, coming off 2 embarrassing losses to the 49ers and Cowboys. And I have to say, I've been telling Chad all along, something wasn't right with the Eagles' record this year because, yeah, they're 10-3, but anybody who's watched a lot of their games knows they've really won on pedigree. They've found ways to win, and that's not a bad thing. But I just don't think they're a dominant team, and I think a lot of teams are going to a lot of people are going to run to the window Monday night to grab the Eagles, thinking they're pissed off. And I see Seattle coming in as a wounded animal, 4 straight losses. They lost to the 49ers twice, to the Cowboys, to the Rams. They lost to 4 good football teams. They're playing for their playoff lives on Monday night. 6-7 is right there in that NFC for the 7 seed. They're getting 4 points at home. I'm going to grab the Seahawks +4.
Keep it rolling. Sum it up for us.
Did you quit on?
Nah, sum it up for us.
I got the Bills -2.5, the Giants +6. I think he was calling a psychiatrist going, I can't believe he's taking the Giants. And the Seahawks +4.
All right. That is it, folks. We've wrapped it up. I mean, how many picks did we make here? Between the two of us, we just uncorked 26 picks for you. Who else is doing that? You got a 10-pack of bowl picks from Emil, got a 10-pack of bowl picks from myself. So you got a whole week. Well, you know what? Actually, 3-4 weeks of fun here. Plus, you got the NFL picks and a little bit of discussion here about, listen, we're all game managers in life, right? I hope you're game managing. I'm going to be game managing. I hope you guys out there are game managing because it's cool to be dynamic, man. But I don't know if that pays the bills, all right? We're going to get out of here and go do some work and get some bills paid. We appreciate you guys stepping in here with us and following the Two Chumps Football Podcast. If you have not hit that subscribe button on whatever you are listening or watching to us right now, don't be a Grinch. Go ahead and do that right now. Get yourself set up for the holiday season so that you don't miss another great show just like this one we've put down here for you guys. All right, that's it for us. Until next week. And for Emil Calomino, I'm Chad Wilson. You guys, thanks for watching the Two Chumps Football Podcast. See you guys next week.